Good morning, everyone. My name is Mimi Plochet, and I'm Artistic Director of the Chicago International Film Festival. And here on our second to last day of the film festival, I'm so happy to be surrounded on screen by these amazing female directors. Thank you all so much for being here this morning and for sharing your films with us. All of their films have been in competition at this year's festival, most in the New Directors competition and one in the International Documentary competition. As part of our Women in Cinema program, I'd like to thank the John and Jacqueline Bucksbaum Family Foundation for their support of this. And I'm really excited to get the conversation going today. I hope everybody has their coffee for our coffee talk this morning. But, you know, more than talking specifically about your individual films, one of the things that I really wanted to hear from you each about were your inspirations, maybe some mentors that you've had, and, you know, just where you started. So the other thing I would say about all of your work is it's all female-centric in terms of the lead characters are women. And of course, for Mary and for Lucia, this has to do with putting themselves at the center of their films and telling their own stories in a very intimate way. So first, I would like to have you just go around and say a few words about kind of maybe what was the inspiration for each of your films. So I'm going to start with Suzanne because she's first on my screen.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me. It's a real honor to be here and to talk with all of you. Well, for me.
Sorry, I should say that it's Suzanne Lindelof from the film Spring Blossom. So I want to make sure what the film is.
So yeah, I directed and I play in my film Spring Blossom, and I think that I've been inspired by the age I was actually living when I was writing the script, because the movie is dealing with adolescence, and I was 15 when I wrote the script of the film, and I really wanted to play at that time, and I have a family who is already doing it, so I wanted to feel really legitimate to do it. And I think that my desire to act in films made me write a role for me, and so made me write a film. And this is what inspired me at the very beginning, plus the fact that I'm very young and that I really wanted to talk about youth, and having this age while talking about it was to me a good opportunity. So that's it.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really nice too how a lot of these, and I want to hear from Stephanie about this too, are very personal in nature. But I think we'll go to Pilar next, since she's next on my screen.
Yeah, here I am.
Palomero is with Schoolgirls Las Niñas.
Yes, well, thank you for the invitation, also for this coffee talk. In Spain, it's after lunch coffee talk. And well, I don't know exactly which is, I mean, I wouldn't be able to say a specific reason or inspiration, but one thing I can say is that I felt I had something to say about the topic that the film speaks about. And as a viewer, I was missing, because the film is about how a little girl starts to be a pre-teenager, or how, well, to grow up, and it's a coming of age. And I was really missing also to have a coming of age from the point of view of a woman, because as a viewer, I was missing these kind of films. I saw many of them, but I was missing this woman perspective. And I don't mean it didn't exist any, of course there are plenty, but I was missing one of these in Spain. So I really felt the need and the urge to speak about it, and to speak it in this moment of Spain where the film is taking place. So I guess this is the starting point of the story, and of the reason why I wanted to make the film.
Great. And Stephanie, I'd love for you to talk about it too, because I think your film is a little bit less personal, but you take a genre like the thriller and turn it a little bit upside down or on its side in terms of telling it more from the woman's perspective.
Yeah.
And your film is A Fish and Men for everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. So the inspiration to this, to write this film, it's a real personal one, because it's really a traumatic experience I had. 10 years ago, I was attacked and dropped out at a petrol station. And this experience was for me so, yeah, it was really, really dramatic and traumatic. And I said to me there, I have to do something with this experience, because me as a filmmaker and scriptwriter, I'm leading my characters always in these situations that they have to suffer. And now I'm in exactly the same situation and I was really suffering from these flashbacks I had, and to came out of that during writing diaries, during going to therapy. Yeah, this is like the root of my script that came out then.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that too, because I know when I spoke with Suzanne earlier in the festival, she started kind of writing diaries and experiences down, which then was developed into a script. And then Pilar's work was also, when she started working on the script, she went back to diaries from that period or notebooks from school of that life. And then when I think about like Merichel and Lucia's work, it actually is a type of diary in the form of a correspondence between the two of them. So their film, which they're co-directors of, is Transoceanicas. And I was wondering if you could talk about, because, you know, I think it's for everyone, it's very, I guess, both brave, but also an interesting artistic process where you're processing through your own feelings or experiences as you're writing the script or making the film.
Yes, I think our first inspiration was friendship, to make an elogio, no? And I will speak in Spanish and English. I will, and Silvia will help me with the translation. But first is friendship, then the desire to make cinema and to communicate with each other and to make a free cinema. Then, for example, cinema of Jonas Mekas, who appears in the film saying cinema is a celebration of life and life is moving. For us, this movie was that, no? To have a place, to have to reconnect, no? With the city we lost and also with the friendship we have for a long time, and now with the distance it's more complicated to keep in touch. Then correspondence has that, no? To recuperate, to write to another person, like a romantic idea, no? Lucía, ¿quieres seguir tú? El micro.
Sí, fue una idea muy romántica de Merichel que me propuso cuando me volví a vivir a Buenos Aires. Ella extrañaba mucho también Buenos Aires porque Merichel vivió en Buenos Aires y yo viví 11 años en Barcelona y las dos amamos lo que tiene la otra, la ciudad y el cine, que es lo que nos tiene en común. Merichel fue la primer montajista de mis primeros mediometrajes en Barcelona y después le pedí por favor que venga a montar mi primer película en Argentina. Así que ella me da seguridad y cuando me invitó a este juego fue como, nada, como muy feliz para mí la idea y me entregué por completo. Como quien haya visto la película ha visto que no escatimé en mostrar mis sentimientos y lo que me iba pasando a lo largo de estos años.
Yeah, it was a very romantic idea from Mary that she proposed to me. She was missing when I went back to Buenos Aires. She also was missing not only our friendship but also Buenos Aires, because she did live in Buenos Aires for a while. I also lived in Barcelona for 11 years, so we both had different things in common, and like, for example, the love for the city, the love for the cinema. So we wanted to kind of recover that through the writing. And Betty and I had been working in different projects together. Mary helped me in my first medium-length film, and she also helped me with the writing in my other film. So that kind of gave me a sense of safety and security. And when she invited me to do this project, I felt really happy with the idea. I felt that it was completing, in a sense. So I did not, actually, I expressed all my feelings, as you could see in the film, and I did not pull back at all.
There's been so much discussion, I feel, particularly in the past maybe 5 to 6 years, about kind of gender parity in cinema. And I think a lot of countries, and Spain in particular is one of them, as really taking action to make sure that there's equity in terms of funding within the film industry, but a lot of that is state-driven. But I think even before you get to that point where you're looking for support to make your own film, you also have to feel that maybe it's a possibility, and maybe there was a mentor in your life that, or a role model that showed you the way. Do any of you have kind of mentors that you can speak of in the industry, and the importance that they played in kind of your development as an artist? So I'm going to start with Stephanie this time.
Unfortunately, not really, no. And this was always a problem. I think from the moment on I wanted to make films, it was not with 10 years, it was not with 20 years, it was with 35. There were none around. No mentor or no one that I could go and say, please tell me, help me. Maybe also because it's not me as person that is doing that normal in a normal way to ask everyone or everywhere. So, but the lack of filmmakers, so female filmmakers in the environment here in Switzerland, we have some, but of course, but no, actually not. So there in maybe there workshops, there were workshops where women were where I could link to them a little bit together, but I must say no, there is, and it's really a pity. I feel that.
Okay, I was going to ask if you felt that was something that was missing for you.
Yeah.
What about you, Pilar?
Yes, well, in my case, I have to say, I think I was very, very lucky, because even though I was already doing films, short films, and I wanted to be a filmmaker, I think I didn't realize I could be a filmmaker, and I didn't believe in myself as a filmmaker until I met Belatar. I went to his school. It was not really a school, but it was like an educational project in Sarajevo, and it was a life-changing experience. He was my mentor over almost 4 years, and not only him, that was very important, all the people that came to Film Factory to share cinema with us, like Carlos Reigadas, Gas Van Sant, Tilda Swinton, Jonathan Rosenbaum from Chicago. And well, I think my way to see cinema today, nowadays, it's thanks to all what I learned from them, and also from my colleagues in Film Factory, because they were from all over the world, filmmakers from Japan to Singapore so I think I've been extremely lucky about that, because I lived almost 4 years just living a cinema experience.
Great. What about Lucia? I'll have Lucia go first and then Merichel.
Bueno, nuestros mentores quizás fuimos nosotras mismas, me parece, ¿no? Como el deseo de comunicarnos. Fueron realmente varios años de cartas hasta que quizás de manera un poco casual entramos en un work in progress y el contacto con la pantalla grande, con que otras personas nos vean y nos den una devolución. Eso fue en Málaga, creo que hizo como hacernos entender que teníamos una película. Me parece que simplemente eran correspondencias visuales en unos primeros años. Después sí que, bueno, hubo ayudas de la chica que hizo la banda de sonido, que es hermosa, quien produjo el sonido, que también se sumó al juego, y sobre el final, para poder terminarla, como ayuda de ciertos productores, de Serrana Torres, de Pennsylvania Films, de Natalie. Pero bueno, si es esa la pregunta en cuanto a los mentores. Después tenemos referencias, como salen en la película, del cine de mecas, del cine que por ahí está como un poco por fuera de la industria, porque las dos tenemos otras películas, Merichel ya hizo otras 2 y yo otras 3, que tienen por ahí un formato más industrial, ¿no? Y esta es como la única película que nos permitimos hacerla por fuera de esos formatos más convencionales.
Okay, so in terms of mentors, I guess we can talk about ourselves. Like, we were mentors for each other, and it came from that desire to communicate with each other. And for several years, we wrote letters to each other. So, and we were working in together. Well, actually, we realized that it was like a work in progress, and that we could take it to the big screen. So I think it was in Malaga when we realized that, you know, we received some feedback and we realized that we wanted to be seen and we wanted to see. So we understood that we did have a film in our hands. So this be a film about this visual correspondence between the two of us. And then we also had the help from other people, like the people who produced the sound. It was a girl in particular. She took charge of the sound making for the film, post-producing this film, the sound, I'm sorry. And then we also had help from producers, Sanara Torres, Pennsylvania Films, and Natalie. Now, that is in terms of mentors. But in terms of references, we have to talk about Mekas and his filmmaking. And also thinking outside of the industry. Mary had already 2 films, and I did have 3 films. And we wanted to do one that was outside of what the industry usually shows, out of the convention.
I keep muting myself. Miri, is there something that you would like to add?
I learn a lot from friends and filmmakers with who I edit their films. They are my mentors in a way. And also I'm part of an association, a cultural association, and we have a project, a pedagogical project named called Cinema en Cours, and there's a team of filmmakers, young filmmakers, that we think on cinema as a place of the collective, and to think on cinema not no como una, te digo a ti, Silvia, y así voy más rápido, no como un arte individual y de una persona que transmite al otro de una forma jerárquica, sino como un arte del compartir, ¿no? Donde todo se piensa en colectivo y donde puede ser un espacio donde encontremos una armonía como grupo. Y para mí eso fue revelador para poderme pensar como cineasta. Y en este sentido después están como referentes como Chantal Akerman, que también trabajó el cine no solo en sus películas, sino en los procesos de una forma distinta, ¿no? O Maya Deren o Helga Fander.
All right, so I'm going to try to summarize
Sorry.
because that's okay. Yeah, so
yes,
I
can help you.
Also, we were thinking about not making this, individualized process because this is not an individual kind of art form, and we're also trying to step out of the idea of the hierarchies and actually think about a shared project. So always thinking about how this is a collective process or the process of the collectivity and doing a piece of art in group. And in terms of references, well, actually, before that, all this process was very revealing to me because it made me think of myself as a filmmaker. In terms of some other mentors, maybe, or references, Chantal Ackerman, and Mary did say other names that I could not recognize. I'm very sorry. Maybe she can say them.
Maya Deren or Helga Fander, that makes another kind of cinema.
Right. Great. And I think, Suzanne, I'd love to hear from you. And then I just want to hear a little bit more about process. So.
Yeah, well, I don't think I really have a mentor or something like that, but this is weird for me because I was born in a family who is very concerned by movies since a very long time. So I've been raised with the idea that you can be very happy in making films and playing in films. So I think that I've always seen people very passionate about cinema around me. But I think that I've been inspired by films that I discovered when I was very little. And these films were kind of my mentors because it kind of helped me to express myself and to have the idea to write a film and to play in it. So actually, I don't think that I have a human mentor, but I think I have
well, I mean, I think
mentors.
it's interesting to think about how mentorship also can take many forms because you're all talking about very different experiences as well, right? So, especially for the three of you where this is your first feature, I'm wondering kind of what your takeaway was where having gone through this process once for the first feature, is there something that you feel that you really embraced about how you went about it, or something that you would take away and want to do very differently when you're approaching your second feature? So Pilar, do you want to start?
Yes, well, of course, I think always whenever you to shoot a film, it has some part of mystery, and of luckiness, that you never know. Even if you prepare, if you think about it, things sometimes don't. 1 + 1 is not always 2. Most of the time it's not 2 in filmmaking. So I accept this part of, and actually I think it's where art can be found. But of course, I think I learned from this experience for the next project, and actually has to do with myself, to how I say, to be more Silvia, perdona, no me sale ahora. tener más seguridad en mí misma para según qué decisiones.
So I'm more self-confident in order to make my decisions.
Yes, not in the sense that I think I made mistakes, but in the previous shooting, I had some ideas. Sometimes I doubt, And then I realized when I was editing that I was right. And if it was a mistake, I prefer to be my mistake than any other's mistake, no? So I think this is what I like also about all this process, no? About I feel I will, in every film, we will all be learning all the time.
What about you, Suzanne? Are there like any big takeaways or something that you learned from this first process?
Well, actually, I think I've learned a lot because I was very, very, very young when I shot it, and I think that you always learn from your mistakes, but also from things that you really care about. Because I think that this first film was kind of a gesture that I really needed to make, and I felt very, very free to do whatever I wanted because it was a very modest film, and I mean we didn't have a lot of money and we didn't have a lot of time to make it. And I think that I learned that this is the way I love making movies, because not having a lot of means to do it is a way for me to really express myself without having too much pressure. So I know that for the next project, I hope that I will be able to shoot in the same conditions. But actually, I'm a little scared, because when something that great happens to you for your first film, like being selected here and being able to present the film in the world and everything, of course it's a little scary, because you have to be good for the next one. So I just want to take my time, and I really think that I have to have something very necessary to talk about, to write something different, because making a film is so important and so huge that if you don't really believe in the topic you're talking about, then it's not gonna work. So I think that it learned me that I really need to be passionate about the topic I'm interested in my film, to be really to make a good film, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because, as Pilar was saying, on one hand, you develop this sense of confidence and belief in yourself through the process and seeing the end result. But then I think there can be an additional pressure with the second feature once you've had that first success. So, I was really curious to hear both Mary and Lucia talk about how, like, this actually was almost, this film was really more about process than the end result. And that's not usually probably how you approach your filmmaking. So can you talk about how this experience, where the film itself was about the process, will shift the way or change the way or impact the way you approach making your next feature?
For me, it's very, very important to think on cinema as a craft. And you have to learn how to do it making cinema, not only watching cinema. And Transoceanicas has something of that, no? Making cinema on your day by day. And that, for me, is very important, to keep continually shooting and editing and rethinking, and to try to make a cinema free of a narrative. That's interesting because you think on the process in another way. There's no pressures with financing. There's no any other pressure that send to the other what you want to send. And that, I think, that links you to the necessity of tell something or not tell anything, to keep silent. Shooting or not shooting is your decision. No, there's no another pressure, and that's important for me. And I think we have to shoot. I listen Suzanne saying it's very important when you make a movie because it has to be a good movie. For me, before making Con el Viento was a pressure, and that's why I didn't want to direct, because I'm not thinking myself as a good director. No, if I think I have to make a good film, I never do it. Then I think, yes, Transoceanicas is a way to think on cinema as a play.
So in a way, it was liberating to make this film. So Lucia?
Bueno, un poco lo que dice Meritxell, después de haber hecho otras películas de otra manera, fue completamente liberador entender que se puede hacer películas libremente y desde otros lugares. Y yo además trabajé muchísimos años en la industria, dentro de la industria, como asistente de cámara y camarógrafa foquista, en un cine muy verticalista, y en un punto yo lo sentía muy patriarcal también, ¿no? Y después de que hice Transoceánicas con Meritxell, entendí que se podía hacer un cine más horizontal, y la película que filmé el año pasado casualmente se llama Cadáver Exquisito, por el juego de los surrealistas, donde todas las partes del equipo les propuse que intervengan en los procesos creativos directamente, y muchas decisiones que por ahí otras personas del equipo tomaban, yo quizás no estaba tan de acuerdo, pero las dejé a propósito, porque tenía ganas de eso, de realmente hacer una película de manera muy comunitaria, a pesar de ser la directora, ¿no? Porque, bueno, porque por ahí a veces organiza el lugar del director, o de la directora, pero está muy bueno compartir los procesos, la música, incluso los textos que se dicen, el tono de las actuaciones. Así que Transoceánicas en ese sentido me cambió también la manera de hacer cine, incluso cuando estoy dentro de la industria.
So as Mary was saying, after going through this process, it felt like liberating or freeing, and very good to be able to do this kind of free film. In the past, I worked as a camera assistant, and in that experience, it was a very vertical kind of situation. It was also working in a not only very vertical but also patriarchal industry, right? So after Transoceanicas, I realized that we could actually do a film in a horizontal way, or very horizontally. And I do have another film which is called Exquisite, Cadáver Exquisito. Exquisite, I don't know how to translate
Corpse.
that.
Corpse.
Corpse.
Yeah.
Which, we didn't, it's very surrealistic, and we did it in a surrealistic way, because I did tell the team, you can intervene at any moment during the film making process, through this creative process. And it became a very creative process, because sometimes they would intervene in parts in which I was not in agreement as a director, but then I let it go and I let them be, because I wanted this film to be a communal film. And it was a very interesting process, and in terms of the music, the text, the tone of the acting. So I think it made me realize this is a way, that we can actually do filming.
It sounds like the film itself is the exquisite, bringing all of these pieces together. So Stephanie, I think you're next here, talking about kind of what your takeaways are, what this process taught you, and what's for the next project.
Yeah, I think many of the things I learned, it's like in the system. That means that you are developing for so long, for years and years, until you come to the point when you can get a producer, or you can make the financing and go on. But this process is so I felt so alone in this process. I had a producer already on my side, but nevertheless, you are you. It's me that I have to find what I want to tell. And I would say for my next film, I want to try to somehow change this feeling of really loneliness, because I don't know how you girls, how that was for you, but writing a script for a fiction film, I'm suffering a lot. Is it right like that? Or so because I'm the goddess, I can do whatever I want with my characters, but for the film, you have to find the real thing they do and they go for. And so this is something I would try to change and to look for a better possibility to work, maybe with a co-author or with a mentor, or to find someone who I can share what I'm going through. So, and this is the writing, but then the filmmaking, from the point on when we went to the funds for finding money, I had really Serena, my producer, on my side, and she's a young woman and she's really hungry to do their films, and that was great. From this point on, I had really someone on my side that we could support us each other. And this was a great collaboration with her. But it's also a thing of, I think, Pilar, you said that, of energy. And for me, I feel now I'm ready for this film. And I was ready, and also the universe knew she is ready, she will do this film. And somehow everything went together. It's a little bit funny to say that like that, but before I had two other projects and I could not realize them, and everything was so tight and was not fitting, and I was not really convinced. And yes, and you have to be really convinced, and you have to come with this right energy to the producer, say, I make this film with you, and now we go. And somehow it's and for my next film, yes, I think to find the topic, to find the subject, I have to tell that. This, I think it's really important for me. And we will see.
Great. Well, I know we're a little bit out of time, but I'm so inspired both seeing all of your films and hearing you talk about them, but also just really thinking about kind of the necessity of cinema, whether it's that push to make it from your end and that drive, or this feeling that you have to do it, and then from our end as viewers, the impact on that. So one, thank you for sharing your work with us. So remember, if you haven't seen their films yet, please check them out. They're available until Sunday night at midnight. So Suzanne Lindelof from Spring Blossoms, Pilar Palomero from Schoolgirls, and then Stephanie Clem from A Fish and Men, and then we have Merichel and Lucia from Transoceanicas. And a big thank you to Sylvia for interpreting for us. Any last words for anybody?
Go to the cinema.
Great. Thank you. Well, we look forward to seeing what's next for all of you. And again, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We hang? Yeah, no?